Hey guys, you and I both know what it's like to finish a book, and I just finished a book 20 minutes ago. And it ended with all the exquisite, heartrending, emotional magic that a good book should end with. I mean, up until the very last word, this book was a masterpiece. It was an achievement. It's dynamic and complex and explores such beautiful themes, and it's historical fiction. And it is Imperial Woman by Pearl S. Buck, winner of the Pulitzer Prize, not this book, but the author, also winner of the Nobel Prize for Literature. This book was published in 1956. First, before we go any further, stop. I know what you're thinking. God, look at that beautiful copy. Look at it. Yeah, I know. This is a vintage copy. It's lovely. I'm sure I only got it for a couple dollars, but I could not pass up adding this to my collection. And yeah, man, look at the dust jacket. I usually hate dust jackets. This dust jacket is it's beautiful. It's like a matte papery finish, and it's a hardback book. The other great thing about it, there's a dedication. Not a dedication. There's a note scrawled. Someone gifted it to someone. To Jean something something, with appreciation for all the thoughtful, kind things you've done for the Johnsons. Something Johnson. April 1958. Literally in 1958, April, spring of 1958, if I may, someone sat down with a pen and scrawled out this note to Jean. A Johnson sat down to scrawl out a note to Jean and gift them Imperial Woman. Good gift, bad gift? I don't know. I don't know Jean. But for me, it was a good gift. And for you, I think you would find it to be a good gift. Now, what is Imperial Woman about? Imperial Woman is about the Empress Dowager of China, China's last empress, China's probably, I mean, she is a controversial figurehead. Most of what's written about her is from this perspective that she was a negative icon in China. She had negative impact on the West. She was ruling during a very tumultuous time in China when the West was really trying to push the future on China, a culture and a society that is very, very steeped and proud of their culture and of their tradition and of their history. And the West was coming in with all these modern innovations, seeking to, from the Chinese perspective, uproot tradition and history. It's the age-old tension and the age-old tidal conflict, I guess. And Imperial Woman, the Empress, Tzu Shi is her name. Say it with me. Tzu Shi. And in fact, she goes through multiple names through the book. She starts out as a peasant woman in China, and then according to tradition, at the age of 17, she is brought forth with all these other women to be viewed by the emperor and determined whether she is fit to be a concubine. And she, in fact, rises from peasanthood to the highest seat in the land as empress and rules during one of the most tumultuous times in Chinese history. And she has been widely misunderstood as far as what I gather. Now, I don't know enough about this empress to know whether or not she was a tyrant or an evil empress in China. But what I do know is that most of what has been written about her has been slanted in that way. And Pearl S. Buck, an American born and raised in China, fluent in Chinese language and culture, offers us a fresh perspective, at least a fresh perspective in that day and time, offers us the side of the Empress's humanity and the side of her complexity and the dynamic elements involved in her development and in her becoming who she was and making some of the decisions that she ends up making at that time. On its own is a very intriguing element to this book, is that we get this fresh perspective from someone who can kind of stand on both sides of the fence, understanding Western culture and loving Western culture, understanding Eastern culture and loving Eastern culture, specifically China, and being able to kind of articulate what she does about this figurehead in Chinese history, and she does a magnificent job. I mean, that is why the word that kind of surfaces the most as I consider this book, and I'm gonna potentially do a longer review of it in a later forthcoming video. One thing I continue to think of is the word achievement. This book is such an achievement because not only is the figurehead controversial and all of that, but remember that the research that Pearl S. Buck had to do could not happen on the internet and could not happen on a computer. She had to really research and understand the life of this woman. How she did that in the 50s, I don't know. That's lost on us today. We don't really get it. But she was able to research this woman, understand and offer us Chinese culture within the Forbidden City where the emperors and empress lived. The complexity of Chinese culture, because of how vast and long their history is, how much history they have, there's so much to understand about it. And she does a beautiful, beautiful job of offering it to us. And then, you know, the complexities of the decades that she's spanning in this book. It's an achievement. It is an extraordinary thing. And one thing I love about Pearl S. Buck that really stood out to me as I read this book, and even remembered how she does the same thing in The Good Earth, her Pulitzer Prize winning novel, which is a wonderful read, is Pearl S. Buck is a master of time. She is able to give us in 400 pages decades of this woman's life and the Chinese history happening in the time, the context, but you move with Zhu Xi through her life over decades. You journey with her and you feel all the impact of journeying through those decades. You know, the old quote, "He who reads lives 1,000 lives." That is how you feel at the end of this book, is that you have aged, you have grown wise, you have experienced failure and experienced success and loneliness and joy and loss and gain, and you find yourself reading those last few paragraphs almost weary with the decades that you've lived over the week and a half of reading. That is something that Pearl S. Buck is able to kind of give in this concentrated form and move us through time with this iconic figurehead of Chinese culture. So, should you read it? I think yes. If you love novels, if you want to experience that time travel, if I may, and if you're interested in reading more of Pearl S. Buck, perhaps you've read The Good Earth or you've read something else, this is a great place to go. There were moments where the book did drag, and I was thinking, oh man, it's dragging. But they broke through to these moments that were just exquisite. And I felt in those moments that the dragging parts were necessary to build up what had to be built up to make this climactic moment, which there's multiple throughout, this climactic, just potent moment in the story and in the emotional journey of this character, those dragging moments were necessary in order to give us those delicious, exquisite, just moving moments in the book. So don't stop when it starts to drag. Know that you're investing in that exquisite moment, because it makes it all the more exquisite what she's building in those dragging moments. My opinion. But character development, historical accuracy, and historical just devotion to the history and the culture. You're going to experience a new culture in this time, COVID-19, at the time of the making of this video and the reading of this novel, when you can't really travel and do those wonderful things of going and experiencing other cultures. Pick up a book that transports you through time and over distance and through geography, geographic, not rock studies. Whatever, I shouldn't have even tried, okay? I almost said geometry. Anyways, you will travel through time, you will travel over distance, you will see humanity, the complexities of being a woman in China at the time, of being a woman in power in China at the time, and when Western imperialism was encroaching on the land of China, you'll see the other side of the fence and understand why China was so resistant to allowing impact and influence from the West, and the difficulty of sitting in a place of power over China, the dragon kingdom, with such history and such tradition and such culture, the difficulty of navigating a time like that, among all the other things. I mean, this book is an achievement. It is so worth reading just to experience and absorb some of those elements as you read it. So, Pearl S. Buck, written in the 50s. It's well worth it. Look at those pages. Smell those pages, man. It's just too much. Makes me want to cry sometimes. And of course, to the Johnsons, whoever you are, I have your book. If you want it back, do not contact me. Okay, what's up next? That's Imperial Woman. I'm fresh off of reading it. I'm still a little bit buzzed, inebriated from it. It was good. It proves again that Pearl S. Buck is a master of her craft. I've read The Good Earth multiple times and love that book. I'm going to read it again and give you guys a review. Imperial Woman, she does it again. And I've got a couple others of hers on my shelf that are now stepping up in line, because Imperial Woman, boom. Okay, so what's next? What am I reading now? What am I doing? Coming at ya. Oh, you know what I first want to comment on? One of my favorite things about buying used books is you find stuff in the pages. Sometimes it's a clover. Sometimes it's a flower. Sometimes it's a receipt. I've found a weird photo of a family at the lake. Sometimes it's just a bookmark or a piece of paper or something. I found a Houston Astros baseball card from the 70s in a book I picked up recently. That became my bookmark for Imperial Woman, and I'm going to keep using it as my bookmark for my next journey. The History of Love by Nicole Krauss. I'm excited to jump into this. It's prosy, it's punchy, it's unique. I'm excited because I need some poetry in the form of a novel, and I'm excited about that. And then what I'm going to do next, whoops. Then what I'm going to do is we're going to have a showdown, okay? A Newbery Medal versus a Newbery Honor book showdown. Now, to remind you, the Newbery Medal is awarded to one book every year. One book. Sometimes the committee will choose honor books. Sometimes they won't. Sometimes they will. The year that I'm going to be tackling, which I believe is 1984, is the year that honor books were chosen. And one of my favorite books is an honor book from that year. And it dawned on me, what book won the medal that year if not this one? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the medal winning book and I'm going to read my honor book as unbiased as possible because it is flawed and there are moments where it's not as strong as other moments. So I'm going to try to be fair here, though I love my honor book. I'm wanting to see, do I agree with the choice of the committee in the 1984 deliberations happening among these librarians and these people that were so in love with books? Because remember, the Newbery Medal is awarded to the most distinguished contribution in children's literature that year. And so, what are the books? The winner that year was The Hero and the Crown by Robin McKinley. I've never read it. I really have no idea what it's about. I know that it's a fantasy, it looks like. There's some dragons. And it is part of a series, but it's okay because part of the rules say that the book can be a part of a series and win the medal as long as it can stand alone as well. So I'm anticipating this to be able to stand alone. But the honor that year is Bruce Brooks' novel, The Moves Make the Man. This book I love. So we're going to have a showdown. That's coming at you soon. Stay tuned for it. I've got these lovely old library copies. Somehow Newbery Medals and Newbery Honor books get discarded from libraries. I don't know how that works, but I've got them now on my shelf. So library, if you lost your books, don't contact me. All right, that will do it. You guys go read, go time travel, go travel over geology, geography, and geometry. Do your thing, and I'm going to drink the rest of my coffee this Monday morning. Have a good one.